want to welcome in Tom Groeschen from Cincinnati.com, who's joining us today to preview this Saturday's matchup between Cincinnati and UConn at Pratt & Whitney Stadium at Rentschler Field. Game time kicks off at 11:30 a.m. with broadcast on CBS Sports Network. Tom, definitely appreciate the time, and thanks for joining.
Thanks, Matt.
The Bearcats are coming in off a 45-20 loss to South Florida, dropping UC to 0-2 in conference play. What's the overall sense surrounding the program and the team entering the Saturday's matchup?
Well, yesterday, Tommy Tuberville, the coach, he's been under fire from some UC fans, both at the games and on Twitter, so much that they blocked some followers from his Twitter account that were getting a little too personal and whatnot. So the fans are really, upset, a certain segment of them, with a 25-point loss to USF and a 24-point home loss to number 6 Houston. So the program is definitely under some fire here in Cincinnati.
Does any of that have to do with his decision of quarterback? I know Gunnar Kiel received a very big ovation when he came on the field late in the third quarter against USF. I know he was out of rhythm. Do you see any chance that he plays? Has Hayden Moore been practicing? I know he's been out the last 2 weeks. And what are your thoughts on Ross Trail as well, who may potentially be the starter?
Yes, Moore is practicing a little bit. He's got an ankle injury from the Houston game. And Somerville said it looks doubtful that he will play this week. So the coach said yesterday that Ross Trail and Gunnar Kiel will compete for the job in practice this week. Now, Trail has started the last 2 games. The word on Kiel is that, since he missed spring ball, most of it with a sore shoulder and back injury, that he fell behind in the offense. And that has been the reason Tuberville has given that Trail is playing. One of the reasons. Trail was their highest-rated recruit 2 classes ago, so he's got some potential. But in 2 games as a starter and a little bit in relief, he's thrown 1 touchdown and 6 interceptions, 2 of those taken back for touchdowns. So who plays this week, we don't really know. Gunnar, like I said, he came in last week with a little rusty. He was 3 for 11 passing, his first substantial action of the year. Obviously, he started most of the last 2 years, so some of the fans want him back in there. He hasn't been sharp in practice really most of the year, from what I understand. We don't see all of them. Some of them are closed. So it's a real uncertain situation as to who will start at quarterback this week.
Now, on offense, I know there was a change in philosophy, schemes heading into 2016, more of a pro-style look. How did that look even under Hayden Moore, who was the starter entering the year? Have the players really picked up on that offense, and do you think that's something they're going to be sticking to moving forward?
Yeah, I think they'll be sticking to that because they lost 6 senior receivers from last year who were all very productive. Their top returning receiver, Nate Cole, had 19 catches last year. I think he has more than that already this year. He's kind of a slot receiver. They have a deep threat named Devin Gray. He's their deep threat man. Another guy, sophomore Khalil Lewis, is the other starting receiver. But they wanted to go more to a running game this year because they have some veteran running backs, Tion Green and Mike Boone. They have a pretty good offensive line. They haven't really been that explosive with their running game that we thought they might be. So they are sticking to the philosophy, though, of trying to get a 50-50 balance and run-pass. It's been mostly pass the last few years. They have a new offensive coordinator, Zach Taylor, who was the Miami Dolphins interim offensive coordinator toward the end of last year. So the lack of experience at receiver has been an issue that they're still trying to work through. They're not scoring as much as they did last year. We expected that. On the other side, I might say their defense is a little better this year. They've had some struggles there the last 2 years, but they've already matched just about the number of sacks, interceptions, and turnovers that they had all last year. So they're making some progress over there.
I'm talking with Tom Groeschen of Cincinnati.com, previewing this Saturday's matchup between UC and UConn. Switching gears to the defensive side of the ball, heading into the year, I know Tommy Tuberville mentioned some concerns on that side of the ball given their performance in 2015. How would you say defensively the Bearcats have performed to this point?
Well, as I say, they're a little better. They're getting a little more push up front. They didn't get much last year. I think they only had 13 sacks all year, for instance. They've made some plays in terms of pass breakups and interceptions that they weren't making last year. They have a nickelback named Mike Tyson who had three interceptions in one game against Purdue, for instance. Incidentally, Mike Tyson is not named for the boxer. A lot of people ask us that. Turns out it's a family name that's been passed down through generations. So a lot of Mike Tysons in the family, but that's kind of an interesting sidelight. But they've got a couple pretty good linebackers, and Eric Wilson and Antonio Kennard. They tend to still miss too many tackles over there. Mm-hmm. I think Tuberville said they missed 15 last week against USF, for instance. So there's still some issues over there, but they are a little quicker and speedier than they've been in recent years. They were very inexperienced last year. A lot of those guys have picked up some experience. So it's not substantially better over there, but it's a little better.
Now, moving over to special teams, I saw on social media you put out that Coach Tuberville had said kicker Andrew Gantz is going to be out this Saturday. What does that do for their kicking game? Has he been out for a while? And what does their overall special teams look like?
Well, and Gantz has only kicked in 2 games this year out of 5. He's got a leg muscle strain that he's been fighting. That's a big loss for them. Their backup kicker, Josh Paisley, he's a senior, but he's really in his first year of any kind of action. He's missed some extra points. He missed an extra point pretty badly last week, for instance. He's hit a few field goals. He's, a little shaky over there, frankly. So that's a big concern because Gantz has won some games for them with late field goals in the past couple years. He's kind of their franchise kicker. They could really use him. Their punter, Sam Geraci, is pretty solid. They don't get much out of their return games. But last week, Mike Boone had kick returns of 29 and 39 yards, so there was a little spark there. But they get almost nothing out of punt returns, and their coverage teams are sometimes a little shaky. For instance, they allowed a 94-yard kickoff return against Miami of Ohio a few weeks ago.
Another interesting topic heading into this game is both of these schools are at least presented down in Dallas for potential consideration for Big 12 expansion. I know when President Ono was at UC, he was very public on social media about his support and drive to get UC to the Big 12. What's the latest you're hearing on that? Are there any rumors coming out with the next meeting scheduled for October 17th?
Well, from what I've read, that expansion, it doesn't seem likely right now. Yeah. Have you seen that too?
Yeah, I've seen similar. I was just wondering if you've heard anything from the school, or have they given any indication on...
No. No, I'm sorry. No, they haven't. Talking to some of their upper-level brass, they don't know either. I mean, they really don't. I think most of the schools are in, if not all, are in that situation. If they read the reports from the national people and various local people, in early August it seemed like it was a done deal. They were going to expand, and then it keeps going back and forth. You almost have to check every day, but right now it doesn't seem like it's going to happen, but you never rule anything out. I tell people, when you see the Bearcats went into the Big East about a decade ago, we thought, all right, it's all over. They're finally in their, the league they wanted to be in. So, you never say never.
And a final question for Tom Groeschen of Cincinnati.com. What do you expect on Saturday when Cincinnati gets here to Connecticut? What do you expect out of the game, and what type of game do you see? Close game, and defensive battle, more offensive focused?
I would say it would be a close, low-scoring game. UConn, I know, has a very good run defense under Bob Diaco, who is, of course, defensive coordinator here when UC had their big year in 2009 and was finished third in the BCS. As I mentioned, UC has not been scoring as much as they did last year, and I don't think Connecticut is too potent on offense either, of course. So from that standpoint, I would think you have a game maybe in the 20s, something like that. Close game. I think UC is like a 3.5 point favorite for what that's worth. So we'll see.
All right, Tom, I definitely appreciate the time. Are you coming up to Connecticut for the game?
I'm scheduled to be there, yeah.
All right, definitely safe travels. And before you go, maybe give the listeners, I know we mentioned Cincinnati.com, but where else can they find you on social media?
Well, I'm on Twitter. It's at Tom Groeschen. That's TomGroeschen. We're on Instagram too, and it's ENQ Bearcats. So check us out. Thanks.
Yeah, again, appreciate the time, and when you get up there, I'll definitely stop over, say hello, introduce myself, and again, safe travels.
All right, thanks, man.